Go grab the YouTube link so I can post it in the Discord. I think I forgot to change the picture. No, good. I like this picture better. So today was interesting. We find this was Asia on the 1 minute chart. Notice yesterday, well, day before yesterday, we ended, you could say, at a high. Hong Kong came in and kind of made like an M formation before they just kind of slowly trickled sideways. We're going to put this on the 5. There we go. It just looks clear. I'm watching a position possibly for Asia. Possibly for Asia. Okay. So we really didn't do a whole lot right before into Hong Kong. Yesterday, they pushed price up with these green vectors. They basically stop hunted. So they took back this. I need my little tools. They took out anybody that was high here. Why is this not drawing? Try it again. There we go. So anybody that had their stops, So say people were short here, right? From New York session. They came through and they took out this, what they would assume is the stops in a stop hunt. And gave us a mini M formation. And we really didn't do a whole lot through Asia to London. London, again, look, we had another stop hunt right here. Really gappy. Very gappy. I was asleep for this. Anyway. So we came down here and basically tested the 200 on the 5 minute. I think this might be cleaner on the 1. Yes, look how much cleaner it is. That's interesting. Okay, so yeah, so here you have an M formation also coming into Europe. Right here you would know that something was happening going on because of the gaps. You have red vectors pushing price down, and then you had a gap here for them to come back to, which they do right here. But anyway, a lot of reds. They don't really go anywhere. They open up for London. They push price up one more time. They fail to take out the previous zone that they just came from. The only thing showing you that it might have been changing was this blue vector on the 1 minute. I don't trade London because I find it does work a little differently. I prefer to stay in New York. Hi, Koa. I feel like our cleaner moves came later. Because even this one, you would... so in London, you would have been able to catch this if you were awake taking it. So you wait for these red vectors to come in. And then these wicks on the 1 minute would kind of give you an idea that maybe price was changing directions or thinking about changing directions. Let me see if on the 5 minute what that looks like as well. There might have been something there on the 5. So they were holding the 200. So you had a W off the 200 EMA. Of course it fails, but you might have been able to get a short scalp out of here. Back to the VWAP. And then here again you have a collection. You have the first push, the second push, and then this is the third push. You see NASDAQ do this a lot. Even this could be a 1 hour chart. You're gonna see them spike down like this often right before they come out of it for a reversal. So you get these red vectors on the 1 minute. So we have 1, 2, and then, you know, you could have thought maybe this was a W formation off of here, but they fail the 50 EMA on the 1 minute. And then you get red vectors pushing price down again. And look, 3 vectors, 1, 2, 3, all in a row. So this would be the better entry. You have your third push, and then you have this little doji candle right here. Saying, okay, so maybe they're done. And this one, your stop would have been down here below this red vector wick. So we would be looking at this as a long position. You know, maybe once it starts pushing back up, that would be about where the entry would be. Long with a stop. And then targeting this big red vector right here would have been standing out as an imbalance. So you could actually target this back to taking out that previous vector. There you go. Notice it actually goes straight for it, and then it kind of gets choppy after that. So you don't want to, you're not trying to take out the daily highs or anything like that with this. Now you could have been watching for here as well. There was a red vector to be taken back here, or a portion of it. So could you have held on to this trade longer? Yes, you could have taken it to here. Let's see. We took it all the way back to the red vector. How long would it take us? Okay, so you're sitting through this 439. So you're looking at about 50 minutes in this trade. And that one would just be based off of, you know, they keep pushing price down. So you have 1, 2, third one is always exaggerated further. And I bet if you look on the 15-second, there'd be like a little micro W here. But it's probably pretty messy because it's London. And all you're doing is trading this. You could have even, if you wanted the safer bet, it would be taking this trade and trading it back to the London session VWAP. Notice you start getting pins here. I would have probably gotten out here. Just because I wouldn't want price to come back to my entry. I don't want to get back too much. But we can mark this one up. So let's see. I'm gonna write this. This would be for a red vector recovery. I like to think of it as like playing Pac-Man. If you haven't played Pac-Man, it's fun. It shows my age. Let's see, and then there's this one. We'll just target the nearest red vector. It just seems like the safer bet. Where does this go? This one. Yep, right there. It would have hit. Okay. So this would have been 72 to 96. So 72 to 96. So that's 24 points. $24. So 24 times 4. That gives you the tick amount. So 96 ticks. One contract. If at $5 per tick, 480. So plus 96 ticks. And that puts you at 480. I mean, that's not bad if you can pull that off once a day, every day. Once a day, every day. That's all you need. But the fun part is, so then we go through and let's see when the next one is. There. Okay, so we had one here. Obviously we missed out. You know, you could say that you missed out on a lot here. I don't know if I would have been targeting as high as what London did. Let's see if we can figure out how we could have gotten in this short. What would have actually told us to get in. Is there anything here? It doesn't even make it to there. Let's put it on the 5 minute and see. So the Brinks. Thinking. Let's see. So we had a red vector push here, violet here. Okay, so we've been selling off from this point. You'd have to, I guess, take this as we keep selling from this area right here. So your cue to take a short would be this violet volume stopping candle. Notice how it has a very, this is why I like to watch the 1 and the 5, because I feel like it gives a little bit better picture than just watching just the 1 or watching, you know, just the 5 minute and like the 15 minute. The 1 minute gives a lot of information, but the 5 minute kind of gives you a better picture overall, especially for reversals. So we had been selling off from this point pretty heavily, and then we came all the way back up to retest it. With this is basically a stop hunt is what this was. They came back to the previous points, and with this being a violet on the 5, that would be your entry if you just took it off of the violet on the 5. So let's say, and you actually had this green vector to come back before this red one. Obviously this was an imbalance sticking out. So if we took a short position, there it is. I knew I had this button somewhere. So say you can let this totally close. We'll say we got in about here. Your stop would be like a tick above this wick. Like just barely, maybe $1. 4 ticks, give it a 4 tick stop above that wick on the 5 minute. And then really you could either be, this just sold off from here. This one would have been hard. This one, let's see, I saw this and I was thinking longs. So I would probably get out of this trade. Make sure I'm not missing anything. Hold on. No. I would probably get out of this trade just based off the fact that this was our previous point that we had traded from and taken along. I would be thinking that this could be a long position, because typically when you see this much red vectors on the 5 minute pushing down, plus now you have a blue vector, red then blue, that is typically a sign of a reversal. Now, was it today? Nope. We're gonna come back to that. But just basing this entry off of this violet vector wick on the 5 minute. Where are we going? There it is. Okay. Yeah, this would have made me nervous right here. Oops. When you start seeing it turn around, you have kind of this doji candle. Yeah. This is why I was thinking long this morning. Except I was long like here, which is horrible. But this would have been a nice move. Let's see. 615 to 566. So 615 to 566 is 49. I don't know if I did that right. 615 to 566. Yeah, 615. Okay, so it was a 49-point move. So 49 times 4 times 5. Okay, so you're looking at 196 ticks at so 196 ticks, which would put you at 980 on 1 mini. This is something that you can actually go back and watch yourself, Cal. Or Sean, you're funny. I felt like that was a bigger move than 40 something points. It just looked bigger than that. So I was like double checking my math. I'm like, am I sure that's right? That's hilarious. And you could have actually taken another short here based off of, there was a gap here and an imbalance here that was sticking out as well. So a rejection of the 50 EMA. You could, yeah. And this red vector told you they were going to come down and break it. This is where I took my loss at, Sean. I had some losses. Poker's about to start. Man, I got to do this instead. I have to do this instead. Going back about my madness today. Had this huge sell-off. This is what I wanted. I wanted this all day long. So I was thinking this for New York, and instead they waited. So it just threw me off. And now I just lost my OBS. Okay, there we go. We're back. You're back. So we had a 5-minute violet vector, violet stopping volume. And on those stopping volumes, it's basically the way that they're saying, okay, we're not going any further. To check on the 5. But they had no more interest up here. That's why we get the reversal. And then you'll notice green vectors will come in. So they wanted to come back and pick up the pieces. Let's see. And then there was New York Open. So, New York Open. It was beautiful. I called it. I just shouldn't have been in a trade yet. That was my problem. I should not have taken the trade. How am I missing this? Where's New York? New York. New York, New York, yes. So we had multiple red vectors. This red vector, green vector, like this was a mess. They were really stop hunting in New York's session early. But so we had the 800 EMA that they were doing a pretty good job about using. But on the 15-minute, it was even better because they came down. Oh, where'd they go? This red vector was a point of interest on the 15. So they came back into most of this, the wick on this one. And then we also had the psychological low here. Trying to ignore Tokyo right now. I guess the 200 was actually up here. There was the 800. So this was just a massive push. The only way to catch this would be to catch it like a reversal, which we did. I'm trying to think of where we went long at. I'm pretty sure it was about here that I went long this morning. Where'd we write it back to though? Because once it pushed up over, we let it go. I don't think, well, technically we should have taken it back here to the psychological high. I don't think I took it this far. I think I was out of it like here. If I had held it, I would have made all of my money back. Oh, hey, Leon. Going back over the crazy stuff that happened on NASDAQ today. Crazy, crazy. This chop was chop. Yeah, I should have just held on to this all day. That's okay. So this is another example, a long sell-off. Look, you can almost see it here too. So you have a push here, another push, and then another final push. This is your third push. If you look at them in groups. So you had, this is push 1, push 2, and then the long exaggerated one after New York Open was push 3. And that's where you get your W formation. And yeah. And this wick, yeah, sure, we can put that over there. this wick here being lower than the first, but yet closing back almost up here with the rest. That was your indication that things were getting ready to change. Yeah, you had 3 separate pushes to the downside. Okay, so mathematically, I don't know how the algo works, Leon, but I figure there's not very many people trading Asia right now. Maybe that's why. Okay. Calculator for math. Where'd my calculator go? So here it would have been 510 to 598. So that's an 88 point move. So 88, 4 ticks per point, 352 ticks. On 1 mini, so you're looking at 1760 on 1 point. So 352 ticks, 1760 on 1 mini. My goal is to figure out when are they gonna go back the other way. I feel like that's where I do best. But we got lots of this today. And then we have sideways action. And then we had this one, which I did post in the Discord earlier. So we had just had this push up, and we had these green vectors here that were sticking out, this collection of vectors, I should say. Yellow. Here, we'll just make it blue. Make it easier to find. There we go. So you had this collection here that we needed to come back to. Leon, I'm using Take Profit Trader mostly. They're still my favorite. They'll be my favorite even more whenever they decide to work with me. So this was a strong retrace. And on this one, we had kind of looked at this. You were with me when we were live. Cow. And they had pushed up out of this box. And then they basically failed to go any higher. There was nobody up here. So they sold all the way back off again. This one I'd already figured out. So this one, it printed a nice W on the 1 minute. Again, this lower wick right here. Lower than the first leg, but closing back in. That is NASDAQ every day. And then all you're doing is coming back and setting your take profits at the reclaiming of these vectors. So you don't have to go any higher. You're just looking for the tops of these. I like top step as well. This one was later. The sad part is I was actually short. I was short here. But I didn't trust it. And it was late in the day. I was wore out. So it started coming to about here. And that's where I got out at, I think. It's about there. Yeah, the green vector on the 1. But this one could have been taken comfortably. Blue vector, there's a green one, back to here. Obviously they went deeper, but this would have been another one because you would have just been reclaiming these vectors. I really doubt that New York does this to us again though. I think we're gonna finally get a direction, and we are getting a direction actually. Let's go look at this. We've now had red, blue on the 5. This wants to be taken back. Do I really want to trade this yet? What time is it? We think we still have another hour until Hong Kong. I'm gonna go look at this on the 1 minute. This was Nvidia's. Did Nvidia miss earnings? Is that what happened? Nvidia earnings. What happened? Nvidia beats on top. Okay, that's no. Nvidia earnings, stock falls, CEO upbeat about China market. It says it shows a sales jump amid strong demand for AI chips. So I guess it's still doing good. That's what it looks like. So here we had, oh, that's a tiny little W though. Look at this. This is super tiny on the 1 minute. You have red vectors pushing down. This is the first green vector on the 1 minute. I don't know. This is a new feature on TradingView. My TradingViews never looked like this before. And I'm kind of interested to use it because all of a sudden it's now changing how, look, I can set the stop loss and the take profit automatically, and it's never done this for me. Like, I know that we could manually have this up, but it's never worked with Trade-Evate like this. Anyway, I don't actually have this trade place live yet. I want to wait and see what Hong Kong does maybe. But there was, let's see how many options there was today. So here was your first possible $500, and then another 1,000 on top of that if you would have caught the short. 3 pushes down. So that's 1,500, and then another 1,700, so 15. So figure you're looking at about 3,000 there, and then 4,000. And then who knows if we would have caught this. This probably would have given us another 1,000. Pretty easy. 5,000. This was a good scalping day. Like if you just sat there and waited for these vectors to show up. I guess that's it. I'm gonna wait and see what they do here. Yep, they're gonna come back. give it more time. This buy is not live. You have to actually set it to make it happen. But that's it. I'll see what they do overnight and then come back and trade it tomorrow.